What's going on, y'all? It's your boy June Archer here, the Winner Circle. This is 50.com. My guest today, entrepreneur, financier. He is doing some things in car racing that I'm certain you're going to be surprised to hear about. Please welcome to the show, Edward Sylvan. How you doing, brother?
I'm June. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate you giving me this platform. It's amazing. Thank you.
I'm super excited about this because there's so many things we were talking about off screen.
Yeah.
One, I want to talk about the diversity and inclusion that you're fighting for in a lot of areas. I want to talk about the finance piece because, you know, we always talking about people of color are always the last ones to learn about financial literacy.
Right.
Sports racing as in terms of the cars and television production and streaming.
Right.
Let's start with what I think is amazing, the car racing piece. How did you get involved in car racing?
You know what, June? When I was really young, I used to watch all those guys racing Formula One, IndyCar, and all those racing series, and I said, one day I'm going to do that. But of course, my parents didn't have the money to be able to afford that. So I said to myself, I'll leave it for now, but the second that I get to a point where I can afford it, I'm going to do it. So I started actually racing cars myself, Formula karts, when I was 29. Because I worked in financial services from when I was 19, so I saved up my money and I bought myself a car and put it on the track and started racing. And because, you know, I realized I want to participate in sport, you know, and I wasn't shooting that step back three with any consistency. You know, I'm only 5'7", can't rap like 50, so I said I got to do something with myself. So I figured I'd pick up car racing, and I love it, and that's how I got into it. And after racing, I figured, you know what, I want to stay in this. How can I stay in this if I'm not a racer? So I figured I would do sponsorship, just to be a part and be around it.
Now, for those, because we were talking about it off camera, for those who are not familiar with how you even get into or start, one of the pieces that we talked about is the financial piece.
Right.
People of color are behind when it comes to finances, technology, STEAM and STEM. What is the most important piece that we could give our kids as it relates to financial literacy?
Education. Read the books. You might not be able to go to the university, the Harvards and the Stanfords and all that, but in this day and age, the technology has that information out there and it's free. So all you have to do is be able to see somebody else doing it that looks like you, to be able to say, I can do that too. And that's a big part of what I do. I've been doing this for a very long time, more than 30 years. And for me, one of the most exciting things about what I do in finance is to be able to show other people that look like me, people of color, black folks, that they can do it too. A couple of days ago, I received a direct message on my Twitter, and the guy, brother, he wrote me and he said, Ed, you make me feel like I can run a public company too. That was one of the most inspiring messages I ever got. My response was, you can. And that's just about seeing people that look like you doing things that you can aspire to, and reading and getting that education, because it's out there.
Now, he was able to do it through social media, but there are people who say, you know what? My grandfather didn't have it financially. My parents didn't have it financially. I don't have it. When I tell them about my dreams, my goals, and aspirations, they laugh. They tell me, you live in the hood. You live in wherever part of the country that is not a part of the culture of anything that you're trying to do. How do you inspire them? What can you say to those people who are watching and listening saying, that's great, Ed, you got it, you're able to do it, but where I come from, generationally, it doesn't work. It hasn't worked. How do I get there?
The truth of the matter is I came from there too. And I'm not trying to say I can do it so you can do it or anything like that. But what I'm saying is it's about aspiring. You have to go out and seek people that look like you. My whole platform, SEGI TV, is about showing people that look like us, people of color, the disenfranchised, that we can be part of society and show content that isn't about black trauma all the time. Every movie you see is the dude got out of jail, his mama shot, you know, slavery. You don't walk out of the theater feeling uplifted. You feel more sad. I'm putting content on the channel that's talking about stories about what you're doing, about what I'm doing. And we get a lot of what we know and our education from what we see on the screen, from entertainment. So my role in this whole program is to be able to show entertainment that speaks to people doing things that are outside of their norm so that they can aspire to it. And that's really what it's all about.
And the great piece of it is the streaming piece.
Right.
How does that help those up-and-coming filmmakers and artists and creatives who are looking to find other platforms other than Roku, Netflix?
Right.
How do those creatives get to have the opportunity to, you know what, how do we submit to SEGI?
You know what? All you got to do is just send an email to acquisitions@segi.tv, and we're reaching out, we're trying to find that content. The beauty of streaming is that it democratized entertainment. Before, if you had a piece of content, you had to take it to the agent, and they were the ones who were the gatekeepers to the people who had the distribution.
Right, and they would not allow
Correct.
unsolicited material
Correct.
and so on and so forth.
Correct.
Without an agent or a manager.
Correct. And the other piece is that the studios, they would pay you one price, own your content into perpetuity, and then exploit that content forever. I can't tell you, there's lawsuits going on some of the top films we love, Friday, and all these movies that we know and love and grew up on. The people who created that content aren't getting their due because they signed those deals way back. With streaming, it's all about revenue sharing, where the content creators, the people who are the true artists in this equation, are being paid what they are due. And one of the main people who really brought that to light was Dave Chappelle. He said, just give me what I'm owed. Give me my fair due. Right?
That's it.
I signed something that I didn't know I was signing. I'm an artist. I'm not particularly an executive, and I signed this piece of paper. Give me my content back. And that's what the streaming does for content creators of all colors, creeds, and denominations.
And you're doing some great things. I read that the making or the behind the scenes of Roll Bounce is something that's in the works.
Right.
How did that come about?
One of the most creative people that I work with is a filmmaker, and his name's Tyrone Dixon. And he was actually part of the group that created the original Roll Bounce. It was his documentary called 8 Wheels and Some Soul Brother Music, which was actually the genesis of Roll Bounce. That documentary was about the history of roller skating in the black community and how blacks actually made this a thing. And that was the genesis of the film. So all these years later, it became a cult film. And I said, Tyrone, why don't we do something for the new generation? And he said, you know what, we're going to do the making of, the behind the scenes. So he's finishing the last cut on it. It's going to be available exclusively on SEGI TV. And we're telling those kinds of stories that people don't really know about.
No, I love it. I love it. One of the pieces that I love that I read was, and this is crazy because people of color are making waves. We are in spaces that we haven't been allowed to be in for quite some time, or less from the beginning of time. You are the president of the Monaco Film Festival.
Right.
Now this is crazy to me because I still have to get over to Monaco, and I haven't been to any film festival, much less the African American Film Festival.
Right.
But how did that come about, and what is your role in terms of making this festival bigger? What does it attract, and what can people learn if they actually attend the Monaco Film Festival?
It's a great question. How it came about was through automobile racing, because I'm a big Formula One fan. So one of my dreams was to go to the mecca of Formula One, which is the Monaco Grand Prix. So I told one of my business partners when we were really young, I said, we're going to get there one day. So one day we went to our first race. We fell in love with this thing, and we got there, and we couldn't even believe how much a glass of orange juice was. It was like 35 euros for a glass of orange juice. We said, fuck it, we're going to stay. But the fact of the matter is we saw a world that was foreign. We might as well have been on Mars, but we knew we had to be there. And just being in that environment, being around the racing, meeting people, that leads to relationships. Entertainment, sports, it doesn't matter. It's all about people and relationships. It was those relationships that led to meeting the people, that led to them understanding that I know what I'm talking about in my film space, and they're looking to take that Monaco Film Festival into another direction, and they saw me as somebody who was capable of bridging the gap between European film and North American film and urban film. Because the Monaco Film Festival people are made up of a group of people that is very homogeneous, white Europeans, and they wanted to bring the world into it, and so they needed someone to bridge that gap, and they saw me as somebody who could do that. Unfortunately, that appointment came during COVID, so I haven't really been able to activate that appointment in the way I wanted to because of everything was cut off and shut down. So going forward, to answer the second part of your question, we're looking to take the festival into the digital world and have people be able to access the content online through streaming, because right now it's an in-person festival. And the second thing is it's bringing the stories of the communities that we live in, the underserved Black communities, with the great filmmakers, the great storytellers, the great artists, the great editors, the great directors, and bring it to the world. Instead of it just living in one community, take it to the world, because we're global people right now. So we have to tell the stories from our communities and let the world know, because the world is benefiting and using our culture without understanding where it comes from. I want to put a stop to that.
I think you said it best. We have to start thinking global instead of local. Absolutely. And that's how it will continue to grow.
Correct.
Take me to the young Ed Sylvan, who started out in finances. How did you get to the point where you would actually have a publicly traded company? Was that the dream, or did you fall into that? Was it a step along the way, along the journey? Were you inspired, and if so, how were you inspired?
It was a step along the way, but how I got there was my grades weren't good. That's how I got there. I realized somebody who doesn't have good grades but likes to have the things that people who have good grades have, how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? So I figured I can't be the doctors, I can't be the lawyers of the world, but I understand through watching a movie called Wall Street, the one with Michael Douglas.
Wow, great movie, classic.
Yeah, I saw that movie and I said, man, I want to do that, man, because I don't understand what these numbers are, but all I know is these people have a lot of money, man. How is that? And someone said, oh, those people hang around in our town. You have Wall Street, we have Bay Street. I said, I just put on my best suit that I had one day and I just walked up and down Bay Street.
And for those who don't know where Bay Street is, if they're familiar with Wall Street or Black Wall Street, where is Bay Street?
Bay Street's in Toronto, Canada. So that's the Canadian equivalent of Wall Street. So I just put on my clothes and went down there and started knocking on doors and saying, are you hiring? Are you hiring? Are you hiring? And I went down there for about 10 days and I got a job in a mailroom of an insurance company that traded on the stock exchange. And I got a job there. That took me to being in the mailroom. I had to go deliver mail all over the financial district. So I got to go to trading desks. I got to go onto the floor. I got to go into the different offices. And I just fell in love with this stuff. So I realized, you know, if I want to be in this, I got to learn the vernacular, learn the language of this subculture of money. And so I learned that, and then I hit a wall, and I realized to go any further, I have to get formal education in it, but not university education. Right. Education within the industry, specific Series 7 and Canadian securities course, which allows you to speak to other people about money. I got those courses, and then I realized in order to take it to the next level, you have to be able to be public. Public finance is where it runs the world. So I got a job moving up from the mailroom. I got onto a trading desk of a company called Nesbitt Thompson. It's a global bank. And from there, it was crazy because they were in the business of taking companies public. People that had little ideas and wanted to get money to grow their ideas, you know, the banks would hire these companies would hire the banks, and the banks would structure it, and I was part of a structuring team. So I learned the business from the ground up from some of the best and smartest minds in finance. And I realized going forward, you know, this is how it's done. And so when I was building my company, I realized that I got to take it to that level, at least to be able to access capital, because, you know, just to not be too long, but they weren't until now giving people that look like me that money. But the stock market, the people who invest in the stock market, the people who buy and sell shares in their brokerage accounts, they don't care what you look like. They don't care your color. As long as they buy your stock and it's going up, you could be green. It doesn't matter. So I realized, I said, there's a group of people that are agnostic to your race, and that's the common man. The common man in finance doesn't care. Money's green. That's all he cares about, he or she. So I realized, if I'm going to access this money, I got to be public where they don't really care what I look like. As long as I be able to bring value to them and grow their assets, then I can attract capital, and that's how that came about.
Man, I love it. I love it. You've traveled a road that has seldom been traveled. You have your own journey. Has there been a piece of advice that you've been given that you could share with people who are watching or listening that you actually lean on in times of adversity or times of getting a no or getting doors closed in your face and speed bumps and roadblocks and obstacles that you could share with those who are just trying to figure it out now?
There's no shortcuts, man. You know, the longest road you can take is the one where you shortcut. Because when you shortcut, you got to travel the road twice, because when you figure out you've gone down the wrong road, and it's like you got to turn back around. So you're making actually 4 trips. There's no shortcuts. And the other thing is that the time when you need to focus the most is when you're on your face, when you're down, bro. When you're down, that's when you need to focus. Most people get reckless when they're down and do reckless things and crazy things. When you're down, you need to cut your friends off. Bro, give me a little bit of time, man. I can't come out tonight, man. Let me figure some shit out, right? And that's when you need your most focus. It's easy to be reckless when you're up. You got money, the sun's shining, right? You don't need nothing. You can buy whatever you want. You can make a mistake and fix it with some money. But when you got your last dime, you got to think hard how you're going to spend that dime, because once it's gone, it's gone. So the advice I can give anybody is, when you are down, cut some people, not cut them off, but just be by yourself, to go inside yourself and figure out what's the best decision you need to make in order to get out of that hole. Focus, and just be by yourself. And that's how I got out of a lot of tough situations, just thinking it through.
What motivates you?
You know what? Helping other people. Helping other people that don't even know. There's a saying, you don't know what you don't know. And I'm blessed. I'm in an area where a lot of people, black people, disenfranchised, can't go. I sit at tables, I sit in boardrooms where I'm the only black guy. I go and I work in 3 of the industries where we're the most underrepresented: finance, film, and racing. There's no black people in that, right? What motivates me is to be somebody who other people can see, that look like me, and say, hey man, I can do that too. And teach our people about financial literacy. It's the biggest sin we're suffering right now. It's the wealth gap, you know? The wealth gap. We don't own enough homes, and we don't own stock in the companies of the things we use. We can reach, each of us can reach in our pocket right now and pull out an iPhone. We all got iPhones. We're all wearing Nikes. Do you own the stock? No, we don't own the stock. We're the biggest spenders on Amazon and Netflix, and we, black people, we spend money on all of that, but do you own the stock? My job is to tell people we are some of the best and biggest consumers out there. Those companies rely on us to buy their stuff.
Yeah.
Own equity in their stuff, so that you buying those Jordans is putting money back in your pocket in a way that we're not used to. That's what motivates me, to teach that to the people who are suffering the most, black people.
Lastly, music is a soundtrack to our lives.
Right.
What song best represents your journey up to this point, or what artist embodies your journey up to this point that you put on and you get focused and you get into that Edward Sylvan mind frame to go get it and make that money?
Some of the people that motivate me the most, I'm an old cat, believe me, I'm in my 50s, believe it or not, was the music my dad played. Because the Marvin Gayes and these kinds of artists, the music that the artists now are using to make their music. I hear music all the time, and I'm like, oh, that's Herb Halbert, Rise, or that's, that's this song, or that's right now, Migos, their biggest hit right now is off the Papa Was a Rolling Stone, is the backtrack.
Yep.
That's the kind of music, because these people made it. It's not the music per se, it's the fact that these people created such beauty and art through such adversity. They had the wherewithal to make this stuff that now is the soundtrack of music forever. It's timeless. So that's the kind of music I listen to. I don't listen to music that doesn't focus me. And the soul music from the 70s keeps me focused. And the beauty of it is that I don't listen to it all the time, but I get to hear it in the new music. I get to hear it in the new music. And the true artists, who are you folks, you understand the beauty of that music because that's the music you're using to make the music today. So that's the music that motivates me. Calm music.
You heard it here. Edward Sylvan, entrepreneur, financier in the movie business, television business, car racing business. If you guys just pay attention and understand, there are no shortcuts. Sometimes you have to start in the mailroom, right? And when you get focused and when things seem like they're down and out and the weather gets a little crazy, you're going to have to shut a couple of things down and put a couple of friends away. And spring cleaning is a real thing. You're going to have to put away some friends that just, they don't fit no more. Or you just don't have anything in common, so you can get focused on your goal, because as Meek Mill says, there's levels to this.
Right.
This is Ed Sylvan. I'm June Archer. This is the Winner's Circle on thisis50.com. Thank y'all for tuning in. Tell somebody you love them. You may not have the opportunity to do so ever again, because life is short and it's getting even shorter. Thank y'all for tuning in. Peace.
Thank you.